6 o'clock, and it's time to call our meeting to order. First, we always have our invocation and pledge. I have asked Mr. Morrison to do the invocation, and I will ask Vice Mayor Luke Hill if he would mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'd ask for you, please stand. Ms. Walker, would you call the roll?
Honorable Mayor Fowler.
Here.
Honorable Councilman Bilbrey.
Here.
Honorable Councilman Williams.
Here.
Honorable Councilwoman Hawkins.
Here.
Honorable Vice Mayor Hill.
Here.
Our next items are to consider the agenda for tonight's meeting, and then we will consider the minutes for our last meeting, and if there are any corrections, deletions, additions, please speak up and let me know.
So moved.
Councilman Williams moves to approve the agenda as presented. Do I have a second for that? Thank you, Mr. Bilbrey. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay. The agenda is approved. Now let's consider the minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 3, consider approval to suspend the reading of several ordinances, 723-25, 724-25, 725-25, and 726-25. And as I've explained before, we usually suspend the reading of all those ordinances because we're going into detail about each one throughout the meeting. So I would consider a motion to suspend the reading of all of those ordinances at this time.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bilbrey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is item number ordinance 723-725, and that is to consider approval for setting new water and sewer rates beginning July 1st. This was approved on first reading, and now we will suspend the council meeting and I will open a public hearing. This is a time when the public has a chance to speak about this ordinance, ask questions. If anyone has anything to say at this time about this ordinance, it would be appropriate. Hearing no comments, I will close the public hearing portion of the and I will resume the council meeting, which is now the floor is open for approval of second and final reading about the water and sewer rates. Thank you, Mr. Bilbrey. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Hawkins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 5. This is for final reading of ordinance 724-25, which amends the fiscal year budget 24-25. Again, I think that was a net, as I remember, of 0 change. Was that not correct?
It is. These are just bookkeeping, revenue in, expense out. So these are all bookkeeping measures to balance the books.
Okay. I'll now again suspend the council meeting, and we will move into the public hearing section. If there is anyone, again, who has a question, comment regarding ordinance 724-25, now would be the appropriate time to speak. Not hearing any comments, I'll close the public hearing session, and I will resume the council meeting, which we are now accepting approval for second and final reading of ordinance 724-25. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Hawkins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Item number 6. This is new. This is ordinance 725-25, and this is to rezone approximately 6.53 acres on Mirandy Road from one lot residential to has been posted. I've seen it myself when I've driven by. I'll ask, this has been suggested that we do this by the Planning Commission. They recommended this May the 22nd. And I'll ask Mr. Morrison, has there been any, neighbors in the area? Has anyone commented negatively about this rezoning?
We have not had any calls on this. We did send out letters to the adjoining properties, so there haven't been any calls concerning this one. Well, this is a request from the purchaser of the property who's wanting to locate a business there on 111. There is I-1 light industrial in that area that is adjoining to this property. It does border residential on the back, so it does require a buffer zone, which we addressed that with them when they requested it, and they will meet that requirement, and it'll have to go back to planning for a approval of whatever their final plan is. So there'll be a plat approval on what they're submitting. Even after this stage. So we think this is a good fit. 111's there anyway. The only reason it even went to light industrial is because their Mac Construction is going to have their shop there, and they wanted a machine shop to do truck repair for their own equipment. And when they asked for a machine shop, that's what moved it to light industrial.
What is the setback?
There is a neighborhood there that's, I'm curious, I just want to make sure they're not putting something too
Bob,
terribly
what's the
close.
setback
More
on that
curious
for
anything.
50 foot. That's
They'll have to have a buffer zone. And we own the property that butts up against part of the back of it too, so.
And it went through planning, no issues?
It did. Positive recommendation from Planning Commission on May 22nd, as the mayor stated.
I'm going to make the motion that we approve on first reading ordinance 725-25 to rezone approximately 6.53 acres on Mirandy Road from light residential to light industrial. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 7 is consider approval on first reading of ordinance 72625 to set new court costs. We would just be doing what the state has already required us to do.
That's correct. So the state is increasing their court cost by $1, which is what this will do. We'll be spending $2 to the state treasurer in accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated 16-18-304A. And that is to be used for training and continuing courses for municipal court judges and municipal court clerks. It was $1, and the state is moving it to $2. Our attorney has also recommended on line 8 in front of the word compliance that we put subsequent. So submits evidence of subsequent compliance. And also in line 8 at the end where it says may establish a separate court, we left out the word cost, not to exceed $25.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 8. This is to consider approval to purchase a used bucket truck following the municipal purchasing law guidelines up to the budgeted amount of $35,000 after July 1st. And that is requested by Mr. Morrison.
This was budgeted for, Mr. Bradshaw and I were going to start looking after July 1st for a used piece of equipment. The bucket truck would be used for, aerial repairs. We've needed one for a while. And under municipal purchasing law, we can find one used. We don't have to bid it. We can just go find it. It cannot exceed 5% of a national advertised value, which like NADA, so it can't be more than 5% of the market price on NADA. So we'll find one for $35,000 that meets that requirement and get this piece of equipment so we can begin using it.
How high?
40 feet.
High as you can go is 36, right? Building's 36.
All the buildings, but we have light poles and
Oh, damn.
30, 35, yeah. They're probably a 40, 45. We don't want to get one any bigger because then you get so big that it's too hard to maneuver in these small areas. So
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bilbrey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item number 9. This is to consider approval to apply for a no-match grant in conjunction with the Friends of White Plains that they are for the White Plains House. Funding and trying to do some repairs. And do you know if they have found a grant that they think would work?
they found 2 grants. One applications will begin being taken in July, and one will begin being taken in August. So they want to apply for those 2 to try to make substantial repairs to the house to see where we can get to on them being able to run the house.
I think the business people tried to get one going, and it really nothing. All it has to do is has to go through the city. Is that right?
We are the owner, so we have to apply in conjunction with them.
Nothing does.
No, it'll just be money in, money out. They're going to help us apply for it, but we'll have to be the recipient as the owner, and then we would be responsible for the grant funds going back out. So it would require no match from us. It's just full 100% grant.
I make a motion that we go ahead and apply or allow them to apply for a no-match grant for the White Plains House. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Item number 10, consider approval to apply for a SAFER grant for the fire department. And he has provided us a proposal, and I will let the fire chief speak to that if he'd like to.
So the SAFER grant, it's the Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response. It's a federally funded grant. I'm asking just for permission to apply. Even if we were to get it, I'd still have to come back to the council for approval. Step. The thing with the SAFER grant is, so for like the first 2 years, the city would pay 25% of the salary and benefits. The federal government would pick up 75%. And then after year 3, it moves to 65% is what the city would have to take over. And then by year 4, the city absorbs those positions into the city.
Is this mostly personnel, or what are we?
Yeah, so the SAFER grant, it's only for, well, you can use it to hire full-time firefighters. They have to be new positions. They also have a recruitment and retention of volunteer section as well, but I haven't looked into that as much.
Well, again, as we would have to, it's just permission to apply for the grant, correct?
Yes.
So this is just permission to apply.
Yes, ma'am. Just-
Okay. I would be happy to make a motion that we allow the fire department to go ahead and apply for this grant. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Second, whatever.
Okay. Ms. Hawkins and Mr. Williams. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Item number 11. Consider approval to award the sewer rehab work to John T. Hall Construction in the amount of $951,650. And we all have the copy of the bids. It looks like only 2 entities bid through our engineering firm. Do you want to speak to this at all, or?
I can. So this is, we received TDEC ARP funds in the amount of $966,530.47 to cover this. The plan was to bid out sewer rehab. So we're going to do what's called pipe bursting. So they will pull a new pipe in sewer lines that are deteriorating and failing and allowing stormwater to enter the sewer system. Once that line is pulled through the pipe bursting, then John T. Hall Company will dig down at each service line and reestablish service connections to the houses that are on that line. These will have fusion joints. Once this is in, it should alleviate a portion of the stormwater that is entering the sewer system and lower our cost to operate the sewer system. This is just the beginning of the work and probably about a third of what we need to do. We're talking about 3,500 linear feet of line, approximately 55 manholes that will either be rebuilt or will be rehabbed, one of the two depending on current condition, and sealed so that they're not leaking, and so this should improve the operation of our sewer system. This is a little more than we expected on the contract price, so this will, with the engineering inspection, all the additional fees, we're talking about an additional $125,000 to $175,000 over the ARP grant money. But for what we're getting, I think that's well worth it and will help improve system operation and cost.
Will this help any of the pipe problems that we have on Main Street, or is that still to be decided?
That's a different project. That's drinking water. This is just sewer.
Sewer water.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it has to go for sewer, right?
Yeah. This
Right.
this has already been designed for sewer. Got determined to be our worst place at the moment. all of our camera work, smoke testing, cleaning. Director Bradshaw's already started working on line repairs and what we call a point repair. So if it's not a whole line and it's just a single point of location, he's already began digging those out and repairing those. And we're going to continue to smoke test and identify areas of weakness so we can keep working on improving the sewer system.
So moved.
All right, there's a motion made by Mr. Williams. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bilbrey. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Now, that takes care of the official city business, and now I turn it over to Mr. Morrison for his report, and then our department heads.
So we'll talk about our Touch a Truck event that was held last Friday. That is the summer reading program kickoff in conjunction with the All Good Library, and we bring equipment and staff up. I want to thank all of our staff for participating and helping with that. We're estimating about 150 to 175 people come through that event. Took pictures of trucks. They got a cone of ice. They got on the WOW bus and got a book for free. Got to visit with the library. Got to talk with Power of Putnam, talked about drugs and drug use and things of that nature. Ollie Otter was there taking pictures. There was a friend of the library there doing face painting, so it was a great event. We also received yesterday our letter from the Comptroller's Office acknowledging the receipt of our certified copy of the fiscal year 2026 budget. They have reviewed it, and this letter constitutes approval of our budget. And they also listed in commendation, we commend the governing body for adopting this year's budget prior to the beginning of the budget year. A timely adoption will result in better management of public dollars in the coming year by immediately instituting appropriate budgetary controls. Adopting the budget in a timely manner allows your financial staff more time to close the official accounting records, have those records available for audit no later than 2 months after the close of your fiscal year as required by Tennessee Code Annotated. So we got a positive review on our budget approval, and we are in and ready for the fiscal year July 1st. So now we start closing the books for this year, June 30th. Department heads.
So with the annual Let Freedom Ring event, fireworks show is June 28th. It'll be from 5 to 9 p.m. at the football field, just like normal. We've got a good band lined up. It should be pretty exciting, plenty of food vendors, and they're punching up our fireworks show, staying within the budget, but she's turning it up for us. So we're looking forward to that. We appreciate First National Bank and Mayor Porter, and we have several sponsors that help us pull that off, and we appreciate them. We also talked about our tennis court light upgrade was complete, except ordered where we were waiting on the LED portion for the equipment to upgrade all those lights to LED fixtures, so we hope to have that done before the month, depending on the weather and when the contractor can get in to install that.
So for last month, we ran 62 calls for the month, which one of our busiest months that we've ever had. They range from medical calls to multiple motor vehicle accidents to reported structure fires, which I would like to just take a second and strongly encourage the public to always keep like a small kitchen fire extinguisher. It's a small but invaluable tool. And if anybody gets one and they have trouble using it or need instructions, we would be happy to supply that. We were very happy to take part in the Touch a Truck event, had a lot of fun. And with the Let Freedom Ring, we're looking forward to doing our fire truck spray down.
We had about 45 different general information calls, 14 investigations, 12 property traffic accidents, 3 personal injury accidents, 246 property checks, 15 welfare checks, 18 suspicious persons, 163 traffic stops, 28 citations. And I talked to my vendor today, and he's ordered the striping, so everything should be done by the end of next week, I hope.
No, he didn't have anything. I have one thing I left off. Omar Watkins is our intern for this summer. He is assigned through University of Tennessee Municipal Technical Advisory Service. He'll be with us through the summer, learning all the things that we do in local government, helping us with some projects. So we're excited to have him here and appreciate his help this summer, and we're hoping he gets a lot of valuable experience out of it. So Omar, thank you for being here and appreciate it.
Anything else? Anyone has anything else to add? How about citizens? Yes, sir. Come ahead.
I come here today not to complain.
That would be okay. We would.
Okay, but I do have some questions and some requests. They have to do with the speed signs. How many do we have in the city? 2? Do we know? Yeah, the signs that flash the speed temporarily. 2? Okay. There's only 4 manufacturers in the United States. I guess there's a lot of regulations on them. And one of them I'm going to visit tomorrow. I already tried to wangle a sign out of him. He owes me a serious amount of money. So anyway, my question is this, is you had the meeting, and I thank you for that, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot from the previous chief as well. You know, I know about the resources. I also know the problem's bigger than just one street. And so out of curiosity, I see over at Brookside, you know, we could afford to put the sign up for, was it 4 weeks? That sign stayed up there? All I request is Cooper Road's one of those places that would like that sign, but there's probably, from that meeting, I learned at least a half a dozen. There's probably a dozen that you get complaints from. So there's no possible way. I mean, he's got to do a rotation and all of that. So anyway, that's my question. You know, some of my questions. The other one is, how much is the city paying for each one of those signs? Out of general curiosity, do you know? Okay. The other one I want to know, because since we had the sign sitting there in front of the judge's house for 4 weeks, did we collect any data? You know, I'm not sure they've collected any data either. Now, Cookville seems to be using the same signs, and I notice, and you guys do the same thing, there's streets that you guys put them on, and they seem to know the right times to put their officers there. You know, they go with them on Candy, is it Candy Lane, and they follow with the data. I know we can't arrest everybody. I sure would like to. I also get out of Brookside that I've heard it from an officer, and I've also heard it from a few people, and that is what's going on in Brookside is mostly the neighbors. I know there's people from the outside coming through, you know, the vendors and such, but honestly, it's my neighbors. And if it's not the neighbors in my neighborhood, it's the neighborhood in the other neighborhood. We all remember Allgood 1. I wonder how that went for him, okay? But, you know, don't have a vanity license plate. It's too easy for everybody to recognize who you are. But I don't have any criticism because I know the lack of resources. However, I really would like to use some of that data because I know on my own street, there's something about the half hours. Every morning, you know, it starts at 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30. Somebody's late for work, you know, and apparently they're late for work more than they're on time for work. So that's my interest. The other interest is I really think the signs need a vast improvement. And I probably upset a bunch of people, but I think those signs need LPRs on them, okay? And people need to start recording who these people are that are, because here's the real problem. The sign's good for honest people. I know myself. You absolutely put them in the right locations. I know I'm going over 10 miles of the speed limit, you know, and it's a reminder. And after a couple of times of being reminded, I don't have to do it. However, we have a small percentage of population that abuses the privilege. So I'd be very interested in how much they cost, how much those signs cost, and, you know, are we collecting any data? And I'll let you know that I also bought the software and donated to you guys for that particular sign, just for that purpose. Okay?
I was going to ask because I know that we have the ability to collect data on how many cars, are on the
Right.
street per day. But I personally, I'm unaware if those signs that say this is 35 and you're going 47,
It's absolutely,
if those collect data as well. And
absolutely positively.
Okay.
Okay, because I contacted the manufacturer at the time you bought it.
Okay.
Okay, there's one thing to come here and complain, and then there's another being a good citizen trying to make improvements, right? So, again, I learned a lot from the previous chief. I came in like gangbusters, but I gotta say it's a difficult thing to grab a hold of. And I really think, because I'm going to talk to the gentleman who's the manufacturer, is these things need LPRs in them because people are, pretty much the neighborhood, the same neighbors that are doing it are going to continue doing it. Now, my other problem personally with officer and the residents of Brook, if you're in your neighborhood, you should take it up with your neighbors. And my personal opinion is I disagree with that. And I'm just curious, do you guys agree or disagree that you should go take that up with your neighbors about them speeding up and down the road? He's got a kid speeding up and down the road. Do you think they should take that up personally?
No.
Or no.
Say something to them. We're not there to catch them.
The problem is
Well,
that could go in a bad place.
I
really quick.
never would suggest that you approach someone personally. You never know.
Okay, but like I said, I had an officer say that. I had citizens say that. I've also had
Unfortunately,
a
yeah.
neighbor who got the police called on him for driving through your neighborhood. He was quite upset. And no, I don't agree with taking it up with people personally because it can get emotional.
Right.
Right?
Exactly right.
Yes.
Okay. So that's really all I had today.
Well, thank you for
Okay.
being. We've missed you at the meeting.
There's one more thing. I've been seeing these three-dimensional pictures they've been putting on streets, and they're pretty amazing. And I remember seeing the same three-dimensional pictures used in Europe. And what they do is they put them on the side of the road, and it gives an optical illusion that the street's narrower than what it is. And, I don't support, the bumps and all that stuff. I wanted to look at something that might be something to consider. I mean, nothing else seems to be working, and we can't unfortunately arrest them all. And I'm sure all my neighbors would think that we should arrest them all.
well,
okay?
yeah, the ticketing process should be first and foremost, and then
And good luck.
we should take it from there. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and maybe we should be a little more diligent about moving the signs so that they are rotated in different areas. And I'm with you. Since they do collect data, I'd like for us to see how many, if it tells us how many cars come by, how many were complying, I don't know what they read. I don't know if it reads, you had 15 that didn't make it, or you had 20 that were over 10 miles an hour, or
For the amount
I'm
of money they
just,
charge for the software, it better do
Oh.
a good job.
okay, so there is
Okay.
software
Oh,
already.
absolutely.
Okay,
Okay.
thank
Just
you.
for that. Okay.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You should follow really around, okay? If they're out in the open, everybody's just going to slow down, all right? But there's plenty of places, and they all know where they are. So, but if you're out in the middle, now the problem with Cooper Road is the police have trouble putting the sign up. You can put the sign up anytime you want on my front yard. And if I got to go buy one, I'm going to go buy one. And if I got to go trade one, I'm going to go trade another one, okay?
Thank you, sir. Is there anything else? Does the council have anything else? All right, then. We want to remind everybody again about our 4th of July, Let Freedom Ring on 6/28. The library has started a program for the summer for on Thursdays, I believe it is, that they ask that the kids who want to participate come to City Hall. And this Thursday, I'm going to be reading a story to the kids that are here, and then we will be doing a craft. So that starts at 9 o'clock on Thursday morning. So I know our librarian, Miss Andrea, would appreciate if you have children, grandchildren, whatever, whoever you think, a child at heart can come and hear a story. I think it's going to be about butterflies. But I attended the Touch a Truck event, and I was amazed that there were so many kids who wanted to touch a truck. I really thought that was a kind of an odd thing, touch a truck. I mean, really? But the parents explained to me that the kids see these trucks passing all the time, and they never get to really experience one except if they see it going by. And so they absolutely went crazy over being able to get up in a dump truck, get up in the excavator, get up in the fire truck, and they all have horns. And I would suggest that next year we turn those off if we can. I left with a migraine after hearing all those kids want to blow the horn of everything. So I think the fire chief was with me, and he was telling them about the big spray down. We always have that, at our 4th of July. We have the fire truck there, and the kids can play in the water and have a good time. So we want to remember and invite everybody to that. And our next meeting will be July the 8th. So that will be after our event, Let Freedom Ring. So I will, if there's nothing else, I'll move to. Thank you, Mr. Bilbrey. All of those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned, and it is 6:40.